Hi, and welcome again to another demonstration of a quick scenario of ArcSight Logger version 6. In this case, we're going to talk about the what we call the compliance use case and how we can use the product to address some very simple and straightforward compliance requirements. Now, in this particular example, what we want to do is show some scenarios of how we could use Logger to address some straightforward compliance use cases. Now, what it will do is it'll store, centralize, and secure your log data in an auditable and managed way around the overall system as a whole. However, how could you use that to address some additional compliance use cases? So a very simple scenario would be, for example, let's just have a look at some of the reporting capability, because in general compliance tends to be much more focused around compliance around the reporting capabilities. So let's have a look at a very simple scenario. So in this particular case, we have some demo reports built here. We have what we call requirement 2, default account usage drill down. So I'm actually going to run that report just to see. So we typically would have this set to run on a schedule and have that produce the reports on a regular basis to the relevant people, the systems owners or the audit person that manages this. So in this case, we can just see that we've run that very simple report, and we can see that what it's done is it's looked for a number of default usernames to be used on the PCI regulated systems and provide me with a report around that. So we can see there's a whole list on here. There's an awful lot around root there, which is a bit of a concern, and we probably want to be looking at that in a bit more detail. But actually, if we go down to the table underneath, we can see there's actually a link here. So I'm actually interested in the SA one here, so the for Oracle, for example, and I can just click on that. It actually opens up a fresh tab, and hey presto, takes me down to the drill down. And more importantly, it actually takes me down to the information that's relevant around this for the compliance regulation and what I should be doing and how I should be addressing that as well. So very simple and very straightforward that, like I say, can automate those reports, have those reports go to the relevant auditors, and then have that information provided so we can follow it up on a regular basis. So, okay, that's useful, and that's a good thing to be doing as part of a standard compliance process. What I probably want to be doing is I want to be having some alerts on this as well, and ensuring that I'm getting some relevant data around this as and when it occurs. So what I could do is there's a whole bunch of alerts that we've defined here, but if I actually scroll down to what's relevant here, so default account usage, so again, following on from our report that we had there a second, I just select that. I do want to see the base events that have triggered this, and how many times has this happened in the last 15 minutes. Just give me my alerts. Now, this is a demonstration, so typically we'd set this up to send an email or a message via maybe syslog or something else with regards to this effect. But in this case, we're actually just showing the event that's triggered here, so we can see default account usage, Windows. We can see there's a whole bunch load of there. We can see some other information there. So we, in general, we can see that this has actually been triggered 7 times, this alert, and it sent that information out to the alert destination with regards to that. So we can see that we can now start to automate the process of identification, because it's not just one system, it's actually multiple systems, as we saw with Oracle for SA, and now we're seeing default usage on Windows systems as well. So we start to make it nice and simple and nice and straightforward around this process to tell me when I'm out of compliance or when I should be having a closed process around this. So that's one way of doing things, but actually one of the other things that we should be considering as part of compliance around what we need to be achieving here is the ability to store the data and have rules around how we manage that. So of course, a lot of organizations are not just subject to one compliance standard. It could actually be even 2 or more compliance standards from there. So we actually have the ability to define some rules and then actually on top of that define some groups of how we want to manage that data. And this is the really clever and intelligent bit around this, is that we can tag that data as we've received it and tag it and store it in the relevant what we call storage groups that has the mapped in retention policy and total amount of size of data, so we can make sure it doesn't get out of hand. So the point here is that typically within PCI we need to store it for a certain period of time, and for Sarbanes-Oxley we need to store it for a different amount of time. And a more important thing here is that Logger is going to see that data, ensure that it gets tagged correctly, and store it in the relevant storage group, so we have the correct audit capability, so that when we want to do the searching or want to do the reporting, we can see that data and not store too much data and actually have that. So we can define multiple storage groups and multiple rules of how we want to apply and store that data accordingly, and let Logger handle the retention and ongoing storage and management of that data for us. So that's a very quick introduction to a scenario based around what we call the use case for compliance using ArcSight Logger version 6. Thank you very much for your time.